Welcome, my daring night owls, to a chilling journey into the terrifying abyss of reality. Tonight, we delve deep into the shadows that lurk just beyond our safe havens, where comfort turns to fear and familiarity breeds dread. We're about to explore the spine-tingling chronicles of true home invasions, tales so unnerving they'll make your skin crawl and every creak in your house sound like an intruder's footstep. Get ready to question the sanctity of your own four walls as we step into these horrifying truths of unwelcome guests. Are you ready?
Story 1. The Protective Growl. In the hushed embrace of evening, I found myself alone in our homestead, nestled in the heart of nowhere. My husband, Matthew, had been summoned to a work emergency some 2 hours away, leaving me in my 8th month of pregnancy to fend for myself. The scent of simmering stew wafted through the air, a comforting aroma that did little to alleviate the unease creeping up my spine. Our faithful companion, a blue healer named Odin, was my solitary sentinel in Matthew's absence. His keen senses were more reliable than any man-made security system. As I stirred the pot, a sudden change in Odin's demeanor sent a chill down my spine. His fur bristled, his body stiffened, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. In his eyes, I saw a primal fear that set my heart pounding against my ribs. As if on cue, a knock echoed through the silent house, insistent and ominous. Odin positioned himself protectively before me, his snarls growing louder. I reached out, my hand trembling as it rested on his collar, restraining him from charging out when I cracked open the door. A stranger loomed on our porch, his shadowy figure cast by the dim porch light. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. His response was a simple, "We're here for the washer and dryer." My gaze darted past him, landing on a tiny vehicle, no larger than a compact hatchback parked in our driveway. "There's no washer or dryer here for anyone to pick up," I replied, my eyes never leaving his. He repeated his demand, this time with a menacing edge. Odin's growls grew fiercer, his muscles rippling beneath my grip. An instinctual dread gripped me, mirrored in Odin's agitation. "Sir, there's nothing here for you. Please leave," I said, my voice firm despite the terror coursing through me. The man retreated, fear etched on his face as he glanced at Odin. He retreated to his car, where I noticed several other figures lurking in the shadows. I released Odin, who remained rooted on the porch, his growls echoing ominously in the quiet night. His vigil lasted an unnerving 10 minutes, during which the men sat in their car, seemingly debating their next move. I retreated into the house, retrieving our shotgun from its resting place by the door. Finally, the car roared to life and disappeared down the driveway, leaving us in the unsettling silence once more. Odin finally relaxed, returning to my side, his loyalty unwavering. I dialed Matthew, my voice shaking as I relayed the terrifying encounter. His reassurance did little to ease my fear, but knowing he was hurrying home provided some comfort. Odin was our guardian that night. His bravery, his fierce protectiveness, likely saved me and our unborn child from a horrific fate. I shudder to think what might have happened had he not been there, or if I had let him charge at the intruder. He left us a year later, but his memory lives on, a testament to the bond between man and dog, and the protective instincts of a beloved pet. Story 2. Invasion at Dawn. In the deepest throes of slumber, at the ungodly hour of 7 a.m., the stillness of my sanctuary was shattered by a deafening crash. I dismissed it as nothing more than the colossal cat tower in the living room toppling over, a common occurrence given its unstable nature. Resigned to sleep's sweet embrace, I turned over, sinking deeper into the softness of my bed. Suddenly, my ancient feline companion, a creature of lethargy and comfort, sprang into my room, leaping onto my bed with a speed and agility I hadn't seen in years. He burrowed under the covers, his heart pounding against my own. The terror in his eyes jolted me from my drowsy stupor. As clarity returned, I saw them. Two silhouettes creeping up my staircase, their faces hidden in the dim morning light. Time seemed to stretch into eternity and compress into mere seconds simultaneously, an uncanny sensation that had my heart pounding in my chest. Launching myself from the bed, I roared, "Get out of my house!" My voice echoed through the silent halls, a deep guttural sound eerily reminiscent of my brother's voice. As I pursued these intruders, my screams reverberating off the walls, I couldn't help but marvel at this bizarre auditory phenomenon. I grappled one of them on my dew-kissed lawn, but he wriggled free, disappearing into the morning fog. Their escape vehicle tore away from the curb, license plate fading into obscurity, despite my desperate attempts to etch the numbers into my memory. The frustration gnawed at me, a bitter taste of defeat lingering on my tongue. Only later, when the adrenaline had ebbed away, did I register the throbbing pain in my arm, a fracture sustained during my reckless chase, and the sharp sting of splinters embedded in my feet, remnants of my shattered front door. The peculiarities of fight or flight, the distortion of time, the numbness to pain, the hyperfixation on certain details while others slipped away, felt like a surreal nightmare. Although I emerged relatively unscathed and nothing was stolen, the invasion left an indelible mark on my psyche. The very next day, I fortified my home with surveillance cameras, turning it into a fortress against unseen threats. Story 3: Bloodstains and Unwanted Guests. In the dead of night, my partner Alex and I found ourselves seeking refuge in the humble abode of his two acquaintances, Jack and Jonah. Jonah had left the apartment a few hours earlier, leaving us in the company of the ever-silent Jack. As Alex embraced the tranquility of sleep, I found myself awake, the unsettling quiet gnawing at my nerves. A sharp knock echoed through the apartment, a sound that seemed to reverberate in the eerie silence. Jack shuffled to the door, revealing Jonah's return, although he wasn't alone. Two shadowy figures, residents of the same building, had coerced Jonah into being their unwitting accomplice. Devoid of his keys, he was their ticket inside. Once they crossed the threshold, a cacophony broke out. Muffled behind the closed bedroom door, the sounds of a struggle filled the air. Heavy thuds, grunts, and the unmistakable shuffling of feet against the cold, hard floor. I shook Alex awake, our eyes meeting in shared fear as foreign voices echoed through the apartment. "On your knees, right now." Alex made a move to investigate, but I pleaded with him to stay, fearing what awaited us beyond the safety of our room. After what felt like an eternity, the chaos subsided, replaced by a chilling silence that seemed to press down on us. We ventured out. The sight that greeted us was something straight out of a horror film. Jack lay motionless on the ground, a grotesque barbed machete protruding from his chest. His face was drained of color, eyes wide open in a vacant stare. Jonah was frantically dialing 911, his hands trembling. The building lacked a proper security system, so when the sirens approached, Alex escorted the police inside. We were quickly separated and corralled into different police vehicles, while paramedics frantically tried to revive Jack. Despite their efforts, Jack succumbed to his injuries. His lifeless body was wheeled out, and the delayed departure of the ambulance confirmed our worst fears. The paramedics had ceased their attempts to revive him, their somber faces clear in the glow of the ambulance lights. The police whisked us away for questioning, leaving us isolated for hours on end. Finally, after an agonizing 12-hour ordeal, they allowed us to leave, but forbade us from returning to the apartment. We found ourselves stranded at a coffee shop, bereft of money, phones, wallets, or even shoes. They had forbidden us from taking anything from the crime scene, leaving us destitute and distressed. We sought refuge at another friend's home until we were granted permission to return to the apartment. When we finally re-entered, I was confronted with the morbid task of cleaning up the remnants of the night's horrors. The sight of the dried blood was a haunting reminder of the nightmare we'd endured, a chilling echo of the traumatic events that had unfolded.